At a crime scene, every little detail can be a clue, a tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. But some evidence, it does more than just give a clue. It tells a story. Today, we're going to learn the language of that story, a language written entirely in blood.
I mean, seriously, what if the walls themselves could just tell you what happened, where people were standing, the kind of force that was used? Well, in a way, they actually can. The whole trick is knowing how to listen, or in this case, how to look. And that's exactly where bloodstain pattern analysis, or BPA, comes into play. It's the amazing science that turns all those droplets, splashes, and stains into a real sequence of events. It's how investigators literally read the silent narrative left behind. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first, most fundamental principle of BPA is all about understanding velocity. See, the speed at which blood travels when it leaves its source totally changes the pattern it creates when it hits a surface. Now, what's so fascinating here is how this basically breaks down violence into pure physics. Investigators have these three main categories for spatter. You've got low velocity, which is pretty much just gravity doing its thing. Then there's medium velocity, which might be from a swing or a blow. And then you have high velocity, and yeah, that's from some extreme energy, like a gunshot. The key thing to remember is the size of the stain is a direct clue to the speed. So let's start with low velocity. Just picture a simple nosebleed or a cut that's just dripping onto the floor. The blood is only being pulled down by gravity, so it stays together, forming these pretty big circular drops, usually about 4 to 8 millimeters across. This also covers things like cast-off, that's blood flung from a moving object, or even an arterial spurt. Now that might sound really forceful, but in the world of BPA, the initial velocity is still considered pretty low. Okay, now let's ramp up the force and look at medium velocity. This is where an external impact, like blunt force trauma, gets involved. That impact breaks the blood up into smaller droplets, usually somewhere between 1 and 4 millimeters. And the pattern? It gets way more spread out, more dispersed. It's the signature of an impact. And then you have high velocity. This is a whole different ballgame. An event like a gunshot creates a massive amount of energy, and it just atomizes the blood into this fine, almost mist-like spray. We're talking droplets that are less than 1/10 of a millimeter. When an investigator sees this pattern, they know an extreme level of force was used. So the main takeaway here is that the pattern reveals the force. And to really see this in action, let's zoom in on one of the most complex, high-velocity events there is, a gunshot. You see, a single shot doesn't just create one pattern, it actually creates two. As the bullet enters a target, it forces blood and tissue backwards, creating what we call backspatter. Then, as it exits, it carries blood and tissue forwards in the direction it's traveling, creating forward spatter. And this is just brilliant. It shows how much detail you can get. Backspatter comes from the entrance wound, travels back toward the shooter, and you're only going to see it at close range. It can even land on the weapon itself or the shooter's hands. Forward spatter, on the other hand, comes from the exit wound, produces a lot more blood, and travels with the bullet's momentum. You'll often find it on a wall or a surface behind the victim. Each pattern tells you something totally different about the range and the positioning of everyone involved. But what happens when the story isn't written on a nice, clean, light-colored wall? What happens when the evidence itself tries to hide? This is honestly one of the biggest challenges in modern forensics. Think about it. A dark t-shirt, a patterned jacket, these kinds of surfaces can just soak up blood, completely camouflaging it from the naked eye. The story is there, but it's like it's been written in invisible ink. And believe me, solving this problem is a huge focus for experts in the field. Groups like the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts are constantly pushing for and publishing new research aimed at uncovering these hidden truths. So, how do you see the invisible? Well, you have to look at it with a different kind of eye, one that sees beyond the visible spectrum and into the world of infrared light. The technique uses what are called near-infrared, or NIR, cameras. So blood absorbs this NIR light, which makes it look dark through the camera lens. Most fabrics, though, reflect NIR light, so they look pale. That contrast makes the stain just pop right out. It's a total game-changing tool, except when it's not. Researchers found that sometimes, even with NIR, the blood just stayed hidden. They had to figure out why. So a study in the IAPDPA journal found a couple of really critical factors. First up, time. As blood dries over 24 hours, its chemistry actually changes, and its ability to absorb that NIR light just fades. The visibility of drip stains dropped by over 34%, and transfer stains, like a swipe, plummeted by over 56%. The evidence literally gets harder to see the older it gets. Second, the type of stain makes a huge difference. The study found that passive drip stains, the ones that really soak deep into a fabric, were on average 48.5%. That's almost 50% more visible under NIR than those transfer stains that sit more on the surface. That is a massive distinction when you're searching for evidence. But here's the most counterintuitive part, the real twist. For years, everybody assumed that dark dyes were the problem, right? That they were absorbing the NIR light and masking the blood. But this research uncovered a totally new culprit, the physical structure of the fabric itself. Let's see what that looks like up close. On the left, you've got a microscopic view of a really tight woven fabric, and on the right, a much looser knitted one. Now get this, even with the exact same dye, that looser knit absorbs blood differently and reflects light differently. The actual texture and absorbency of the fabric can hide a stain just as well as a dark chemical dye. It's not just chemistry, it's physics. So what's the big takeaway here? I think it's that the search for truth is this constantly evolving process, where science has to keep getting smarter to outwit the very nature of evidence itself. And this quote from the journal really says it all. Forensic science isn't static. It is always refining its methods, always pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible. What was an invisible stain yesterday is maybe a faint outline today, and it could be a crystal clear piece of evidence tomorrow. This research isn't really just about finding blood on a shirt. It's about this fundamental drive to make sure no detail gets lost, no story is left untold. And it leaves us with this incredible question. As our technology gets better and better at seeing what's hidden, will there ever be a secret a crime scene can truly keep?